abducted from their boarding school at bedtime. And this is the man behind it, the leader of the terrorist group Boko Haram, sneering, taunting. "I took your girls. They are our slaves," he said. "I will sell them in the market." Reporter Alexis Akiwo spoke to another girl who escaped. She described the night of the kidnapping.
They told the girls, "We're taking you to safety." Then, when the men start shooting their guns in the air and they start yelling, "God is great" in Arabic, the girls start realizing, wow, we're not with the military anymore. We're with Boko Haram.
Boko Haram means Western education is a sin. The terrorist group is known as Nigeria's Taliban, loosely affiliated with Al-Qaeda. They are responsible for many massacres, earlier this year slaughtering 50 teenage schoolboys, like the girls just wanting an education. Officials say it is likely that some of the girls have already been shipped across the border into neighboring countries of Niger and Chad and sold into marriage.
This group is thought to be behind the abduction of more than 100 teenage girls from a boarding school.
The hashtag #BringBackOurGirls has now been tweeted over 1 million times.
My husband and I are outraged and heartbroken.
They're aspiring teachers, scientists, nurses, and doctors. Nigeria's future stolen in the night by the terrorist group Boko Haram. Their whereabouts still unknown a month later, the Nigerian government powerless to find them. Pressure is mounting on world leaders.
My husband and I are outraged and heartbroken.
On this Mother's Day weekend, First Lady Michelle Obama dedicated her first solo weekly address to the missing schoolgirls.
In these girls, Barack and I see our own daughters. We see their hopes and their dreams. And we can only imagine the anguish their parents are feeling right now.
Brazen kidnappings and the prospect nearly 300 girls will be sold into slavery, the world gasped in horror and is now demanding action. Shirley Engel, Global News.
In Nigeria, Monday is no longer just the start of the school week, but a day to reinforce the right of girls to go to school. Also a day to demand the return of dozens of girls abducted.
Now the government says it's in talks with Boko Haram for a possible deal.
Unfortunately, after more than 2 weeks of negotiation and bargains, the group just at the dying moment set new set of demands, never bargained for or discussed by the group before the movement to Maiduguri. All this while the security agencies waited patiently. This development stalled what would have been the first release process of the Chibok girls.
3 months after the kidnapping of hundreds of Nigerian schoolgirls, the Islamic militant leader behind the abduction surfaced in a video today. Deborah Pata has the details of his defiant and dismissive message.
For 90 days, the families of the over 200 girls had hoped for good news. Instead, their hopes were met with scorn in a new video from Boko Haram leader Abubakar Shekau, who mocks the Bring Back Our Girls campaign.
Bring back our girls. Oh, bring back our army.
The social media campaign, #BringBackOurGirls, quickly drew worldwide attention to the plight of the Chibok schoolgirls. And in that time, Boko Haram has stepped up its terror campaign.
Islamist militants on the move in northeast Nigeria. It's rare footage of the group Boko Haram. The insurgents filmed this themselves. The target, the main military barracks in Maiduguri. There was a firefight with the Nigerian army, but Boko Haram managed to breach the barracks.
hours of hours after they don't finish shows, I mean, they said, Jen. Don't finish
Boko Haram members enmeshed in the communities across northeast Nigeria. Winning this war is a daunting task.
Lie down, don't sit down. Video. Okay. If there is not enough furniture, just find any book place, use it as furniture. No, that one. Just lie down. Yes, I know. Just lie down like this. I know. You are not content.
Boko Haram, which is a Muslim fundamentalist group, came into a school at night and captured these 270 or so girls. That's what we do know. So you ask why they took these girls. Well, first of all, they abduct them to convert them to fundamentalist Islamic teachings, to cook for them, to clean for them, and even to marry them. Now, I don't know if you remember, on the 25th of February of this year, there was another horrific incident in Nigeria with the boys. Boys' dormitories shut. These boys were burnt alive. The girls were told to go home and marry.
Speaking in this video is a man appearing to be Abubakar Shekau, Boko Haram's leader.
A Chibok girl of class 6 has confirmed that Islam is the best religion, and we have married them off, and they are all in their husbands' houses.
Chanting verses from the Quran and wearing hijabs, these are said to be some of the Nigerian schoolgirls snatched by Islamist militants last month. In a video set to renew international indignation at their abduction, terror group Boko Haram claims the girls, around 130 are seen, have converted to Islam. Its leader, Abubakar Shekau, says none will be freed unless jailed Boko Haram prisoners are released. In
disturbing video. The video purports to show some of the Chibok girls who were kidnapped 2 years ago. It alleges that some have been killed by Nigerian Air Force jets. Now, according to a spokesman of the group who was featured in the video, some of the girls have since gotten married to Boko Haram fighters and can be seen in the video carrying toddlers.
She may have escaped one of the most feared terror groups in the world. Amina Ali was one of 276 schoolgirls kidnapped at gunpoint by Boko Haram militants from their boarding school in Chibok.
All the Chibok girls, we were all kept together for 1 year in the forest. Some were sent to be married, and that was when I was given to my husband.
At first, Halima tried to fight off her abductor.
When they announced their plans to marry us, we rejected it.
Then she realized she had no choice.
We watched how they slaughtered so many of the women and men, so we got frightened.
There are no exact figures, but aid agencies and government officials have told CNN that an alarming percentage of the girls rescued from Boko Haram have returned pregnant. Under the weight of the stigma, some of them are now choosing to risk their lives with risky abortions rather than give birth to their abductors' babies.
I said, how can I marry a man just like that?
They came back with 4 men. They slit their throats in front of us. They then said that this will happen to any girl that refuses to get married.
It's been 2 years since Boko Haram stole nearly 300 teenage girls from their school in Chibok. And the hashtag Bring Back Our Girls burned itself into our global conscience. Since then, thousands more have been kidnapped. And some who've managed to escape speak out tonight about what they saw. How old were you when Boko Haram came to your village? She tells Power she was 14 when she was forced to marry a Boko Haram fighter. You're a 14-year-old girl, you're in your village. These guys show up and they say, hey, I have a choice for you. I'm going to kill you or you can marry me. The mass abduction triggered global outrage and a viral hashtag campaign.
This unconscionable act was committed by a terrorist group determined to keep these girls from getting an education.
My name is Joy Bishara and I am from Nigeria. On April 14, 2014, the Boko Haram terrorists came into my hometown, Chibok, at night while everyone was asleep. They were shooting guns while coming to our town. I was sleeping and haven't heard of it. My friend waked me up and said, Joy, can't you hear what is going on? I said, no, and I went back to sleep. She said, get up, we cannot go to sleep. Something is wrong, the Boko Haram people are here. And while we were deciding on what to do, we were all like, some of us said we should just run out, and some of us said we should climb the walls and get out. But some of us said we are not allowed to leave the school, so we should just stay. We were still deciding on what to do, and a man just came in. We all were scared, so we started to kind of run, and he's like, no, you shouldn't run. I'm just here to protect all of you, so there is nothing wrong. I'm here to protect you from what is going on outside. We trusted him, and he said we should all come in a circle. All of us were in a circle, and then he said, okay. Then a lot of them started coming into our school, into the dorm where we were all sleeping. They all came in because we were all in a circle and we have no chance to run. So when they started coming in a lot, that's when I realized, oh no, these are not the soldiers. They're not the soldiers. And it was too late to run because they were all around us with guns and bombs, so we cannot run. And so they said that they're here, they're the Boko Haram people we have been hearing about, and they're the ones who kill, who burn churches. So they're just telling us what they do, and they say if we do not cooperate, same thing is going to happen to us. And we were all scared, crying. Some of us are like praying. Then they asked us to start coming to follow them. We were coming out with them, and the schools were burning. We're all on fire, and the fires were like almost touching us. So we were helping each other pass through it. And when we went to the gate, they asked us to sit down, and we all sat down. They burned the schools. They do not have mercy. They don't have mercy on anyone. So all the teachers ran away. There's no teachers in the school, and the gate man wasn't there either. And the soldiers that were outside the gate were not there too. So they have strong weapons that even the soldiers doesn't. So they cannot stand to fight them. They all ran away as well.
Militant group Boko Haram has just released a disturbing video. The video purports to show some of the Chibok girls who were kidnapped 2 years ago. It alleges that some have been killed by Nigerian Air Force jets. Now, according to a spokesman of the group who was featured in the video, some of the girls have since gotten married to Boko Haram fighters and can be seen in the video carrying toddlers.
She may have.
This is the secondary school in Dapchi town, where militants came last Monday night and abducted 110 school children. Over here is the dormitories where most of the girls were at the time. It was around 7 p.m. in the evening that they came. And on this side of the compound, right down at the far end, is a gate where they supposedly entered. Girls heard them coming on trucks, firing guns and letting off explosives. And they started running from the dormitory all the way along here. This is the path that many of the girls took to try and get away. The main exit is down that way. And you can see some of their discarded sandals. They're littered all along this path here. They ran here towards the main gate, but it was locked. So most of the girls ran this way and tried to scale the wall. But what they found on the other side was more Boko Haram. We spoke to one girl who managed to escape. She ran off in the other direction, but she saw some of her friends being taken and put into a truck by the militants. And as we know, they were taken away.
4 years ago, Boko Haram horrified the world when it abducted 276 girls from a boarding school in Nigeria. Now the Islamic extremist group has struck again. More than 100 girls have been abducted from a school in the town of Dapchi, and Nigerians are reliving the same nightmare all over again. Our Paul Tilsley is live in Johannesburg with more on the story. Paul.
Hi, Shannon. The whole of this most populous of all African nations, Nigeria, is stunned that this nightmare, the apparent nighttime mass abduction of young girls, has been allowed to happen again. Over 100 schoolgirls gone, at a time when families not far from here in Chibok are still trying to get back roughly the same number of schoolgirls from an original number of 276 kidnapped by the same group of ISIS-linked terrorists 4 years ago. Same modus operandi. As night fell, Boko Haram burst into town, militants on the back of pickup trucks, firing indiscriminately, causing utter panic. Eyewitnesses report truckloads of the girls being driven off screaming by Boko Haram. Their likely fate to be raped, to be forced into marriage with Boko Haram fighters, their innocence the ultimate trophy. Tonight, as around the world, the Bring Back Our Girls campaign, first created after the Chibok kidnappings, is being remobilized, it's clear that in Nigeria, it will need more than a hashtag to bring these girls back.
105 students are still missing after a school attack by the Boko Haram group in Dashi in northern Nigeria on Monday. The parents of these missing girls are inconsolable. To try to alleviate their pain, the governor of Yobe State came to meet them. Ibrahim Gadam told the families of the students not to give up on hope. If this kind of thing continues to happen in our country, you will not have peace of mind. Then we will all continue to pray and seek them. On Friday, in a statement, the President of the Republic of Nigeria described the abduction of the Dachi students as a national disaster. Muhammadu Buhari said that the whole country is alongside families affected by this event.
Less than 48 hours after their release, the girls abducted by Boko Haram entered Nigeria's presidential palace for a meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari.
The government said it had secured their release through back-channel efforts. President Buhari told the rescued girls not to lose hope.
We want to assure you, as our daughters, that you will freely live and pursue your dreams in Nigeria. I want to appeal to the Chibok community never to lose hope or to despair. We are determined, as never before, to bring back our remaining Chibok daughters.
Just last month, an ISIS-affiliated faction of Boko Haram kidnapped 110 girls from a boarding school in northeast Nigeria, some as young as 11 years old. Last week, the Nigerian government shuttered boarding schools in the northeastern state and sent drones and jets to search for the girls. Boko Haram often marries the captives off to fighters. They've also been used as suicide bombers. In 2014, the militants abducted nearly 300 students from a school in the village of Chibok. prompting an international campaign to free them. Recently, Judy Woodruff sat down with two young women who were abducted in 2014 and escaped. Yakaka was 15 when taken, Hawa 14. They were brought to the U.S. by a nonprofit called Too Young to Wed, dedicated to protecting young girls and ending child marriage. And a warning, their accounts are harrowing and disturbing and will upset many viewers.
Thank you for being here. Yakaka, I'm going to start with you. Tell us what happened to you.
I was living in Boma, my hometown, with my parents without any problems as a student when Boko Haram came and invaded the town. They abducted me from my house along with two of my younger siblings. One, a girl, was 5, then one of my younger brothers, who was 6. They took us to the forest, and up till now, there's no news about them.
And what about your parents?
I am together with my parents.
When they took you away, what happened? How long were you there, and how were you treated?
I had been with them for a long time. We've suffered a lot. It was rough treatment every day. My first husband among the insurgents was one of the people that abducted me. After having sex with me, he would send me out naked into the camp. Other insurgents would drag me and have sex with me. When I returned, he knew exactly that his own fellow insurgents had had sex with me. But he flogged me for wasting time. That was my daily life. I delivered a baby boy before I escaped with 3 other abductees.
And Hawa, you were just 14 when you were abducted. Tell us what happened to you and your family.
I lived in Boma along with my parents. I was a student going to school, no problem. Boko Haram came and invaded Boma, so he said they're going with me to the bush to go and marry me. My father objected. They held him, and in my presence they used a knife to slice his throat and kill him instantly. My stepmother also protested. They also held her and killed her. Fortunately enough, my mother was not at home, so they took me away. I got pregnant in their custody, and my pregnancy was about 9 months when I escaped. I never thought I could escape, but it was the best thing to do at that moment because I was 9 months pregnant. No support from anywhere, no arrangement to take care of me, nobody to help me out, no experience. I felt I may die in the process of giving birth, so I better die while escaping.
And what has happened to your child?
2 days later, I delivered a baby girl. I kept trekking. On the 3rd day in the night, my daughter became ill and she died. At first I thought she was sleeping, but later I realized that her hands became very stiff. You couldn't even move them. Then I knew she was dead. There was a rag. I used it to wrap the corpse. Inside I dug a hole, buried the girl.
Usama Aminu is one of the boys rescued after gunmen stormed his school and abducted hundreds of children. He says he was falling asleep when the attack started.
I started hearing gunshots. Then when I came out, there were many people already outside. We were asked to go back to our hostel. Then they said the gunmen were already in the school. We climbed the school fence, but they asked us to return back. We thought they were soldiers who were trying to protect us, but unfortunately they were not. When I decided to run, they brought a knife to slaughter me, but I ran away quickly. I ran into the crowd, but they couldn't get me. Then I put my clothes upside down so they could not see me. From there, they said they would kill whoever is trying to escape. I then began to run, climbing one rock to another through a forest.
2 days after the attack, more than 300 boys are still missing. Their parents are desperate.
The incident has deeply unsettled residents in northern Nigeria.
in the regional capital, dozens of protesters took to the streets, calling on the government to act. The kidnapping in Kankara, not an isolated incident, they say. It's an example of how dangerous the country has become.
Gunmen believed to belong to a criminal gang have kidnapped hundreds of schoolboys from their hostels along with some of the teachers in central Nigeria, according to an official security source. Sources also said that the attackers, wearing military uniforms, stormed the government science college in huge numbers in the town of Kagara late on Tuesday, herding the students into a nearby forest.
Tonight, at least one person is killed and dozens of students and teachers abducted from a school in northern Nigeria. The government sends in the military to try and track down the kidnapped.
The attackers wore military uniform and also carried assault rifles. They entered the school under the cover of darkness and went to the staff quarters, where they abducted some staff and members of their families. From there, they moved to the hostel, where they chased terrified students. One student was shot dead as he tried to escape. The abducted persons were moved into a forest, and it is believed they have been held in the forest.
Seven people have died after a Nigerian military plane crashed short of a runway in the capital Abuja on Sunday morning. The plane was on the way to Minna, in the northern state of Niger, to try to rescue 42 people who had been kidnapped. The Chief of Air Staff has ordered an immediate investigation. In a series of tweets, the Air Force asked the public to remain calm, await the outcome of investigation. Air Force spokesman Air Vice Marshal Ibakunle Daramola said that all those on board the small aircraft had died. Witnesses say they heard a loud sound, then the aircraft burst into flames, reports the BBC's Ishaq Khalid. Vice Marshal Daramola told the BBC that the aircraft was on a mission to try to rescue 42 people, including students and staff abducted from their boarding school in the town of Kagara on Wednesday.
Local residents were shocked to see an aircraft fall out of the sky. Before now, the quiet Wasa community in Abuja, with proximity to the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, only watches when airplanes come down from their altitude in preparation for landing. This time, it was different. A tragedy.
We are at this place, try to make a foundation. Then I just saw a plane coming down. Then before we would have known, the plane just went down there and then crashed. So and we rushed there to even go and maybe to rescue. So when we reached that point, the thing exploded back again. Then we now ran back and we went there. We saw the people there burned beyond recognition.
I witnessed the plane before it crashed. I just came back from church. I want to go and buy something. Only for me to come outside the compound, and I saw plane coming close as if it wants to land in front of our compound. I was like, what kind of driving is this? What kind of driving is this? What? Oh God, it was terrible. And the next thing I heard was a big sound with fire and smoke. Boom! Ha! This is human being burning. I was so traumatized. I was like, God, what is this?
Well, 7 people have died in a plane crash near Nigeria's capital, Abuja. The passengers were on board a military aircraft. They were heading to the country's Niger state to take part in a surveillance mission connected to the search for dozens of people abducted by gunmen last week. The gunmen attacked a school, killing 1 schoolboy and kidnapping at least 42 people. The cause of the plane crash remains unknown, though the military says the pilot had reported engine failure. The military is currently investigating the crash.
Meanwhile, suspected armed bandits raided a school dormitory in northwestern Nigeria overnight. A teacher and parent told AFP on Friday, raising fears of another mass kidnapping in the region. More than 300 girls are unaccounted for after a head count of remaining students, said a teacher at the government girls' secondary school Jangebe, who asked to remain anonymous. He said the attack happened around 1 a.m. or midnight GMT, but did not provide details on the number of students present in the school at the time. Heavily armed criminal gangs in northwest and central Nigeria have stepped up attacks in recent years, kidnapping for ransom, raping, and pillaging. Just last week, 42 people were taken by a gang from a school in nearby Niger State. In December, more than 300 boys were kidnapped from a school in December in Kankara, President Muhammadu Buhari's home state of Katsina, while he was visiting the region.
Well, it was a terrifying night at a girls' school in northern Nigeria. The government says gunmen on motorcycles stormed a state-run boarding school, kidnapping hundreds of children. One source tells CNN the criminals forced the abducted girls from their dormitories into the forest. Some managed to escape the attackers, but it is believed more than 300 have been kidnapped. One police officer has also been killed. It is the second such brazen abduction in just over a week, and parents are distraught.
They said there is security in our state, but there is no security, because if there was, this would not happen.
For more, we can bring in Sam Olukoya, who's our correspondent in Lagos. Sam, thanks for being with us once again. What more can you tell us about this overnight attack at this school? What are the latest information?
Well, I've been speaking with people in the area, including some parents, and they gave me a vivid account of what happened. It said that quite a large number of armed men went to the school. They divided themselves into two groups. One group attacked a military camp that was quite close to the school, and then the other group attacked the school. They were there for several hours. They were able to put the children together, and then they marched them into the bush.
Officials in Nigeria's Zamfara state are in touch with gunmen who abducted 317 schoolgirls last week and are negotiating their release. The armed men took the girls from a boarding school in the northwestern part of the country, the region's second school kidnapping in just a week. Zamfara's governor ordered all boarding schools to close immediately after the kidnapping.
It's a place where they should have been safe. But more than 300 girls were abducted from their boarding school in northwest Nigeria, taken from their dormitories at night. Among them were Yunus Muhammad's 4 daughters.
Daddy called me, tell me the situation. We tried to come by that time. The exchanging fire between that robbers and soldier couldn't give us time to enter. Then we go back.
Large groups of armed men operate in this area. They kidnap for ransom. Just last week, 42 people, including 27 pupils, were taken from a science college in Niger State. And in December, 344 boys were abducted from a secondary school in northern Katsina State.
We begin then with that breaking news out of northwestern Nigeria, where more than 300 schoolgirls have been kidnapped. It happened in Zamfara state. Gunmen arrived at night, shooting sporadically, and took the girls into the bush.
What's left behind in these rooms indicates the girls left in a hurry, and probably in shock. The attackers shot through glass windows to force them out. Personal effects strewn across the floor. They were gone only for a few days, but the dry weather casts thin layers of dust on what was left behind. At the school entrance, the lone security guard tried to stop them, but failed.
After a short patrol of the school perimeter, I went back in. Shortly after, I saw someone on the wall. I pointed my gun at that intruder. I heard him telling others to shoot me. I hid and I called for help. No one was able to help because they've surrounded the school.
Although there are 2 security posts within a few hundred meters of the school in this northwestern state of Zamfara, not enough support reached him. A police officer who attempted to stop them was shot dead by the attackers. Marwana Tishitu is among students who evaded capture.
They now start shooting, shouted, everybody should come out. If you catch anybody inside the room without coming out, we are going to shoot them. So our sisters just came out, running to the gate.
Ismail Hassani is still waiting for the news of his 10-year-old daughter, his sister, and a friend's daughter.
I've never been in such a confused state. I haven't slept much, nor eaten well since then. There is no joy, no laughter anymore in this house.
Back at the school, a few parents hang around for news of their children. With them, security personnel guarding empty classrooms and hostels.
Just a few days ago, these hostels were full of life. 550 girls were here chasing their dreams. Some wanted to be doctors, others teachers. Then as they prepared for the night, armed men burst in. They herded and drove 317 girls into the night. Now the halls of residence are empty. The government of Zamfara State has now shut down all boarding schools in the state.
But for some, the damage has already been done. Some parents insist their daughters aren't going back to school, saying the Nigerian government has failed them.
Hello and welcome. The President of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, has welcomed the release of 279 schoolgirls abducted by gunmen last week. The governor of Zamfara State said he'd negotiated with the kidnappers and come to an arrangement.
Most of us got injured on our feet and we could not continue trekking. So the captors said they would shoot anybody who did not continue to walk. We walked across the river and they hid us and they let us sleep under shrubs in a forest.
This is a different sort of assembly for these schoolgirls to attend in the Nigerian state of Zamfara. Instead of a classroom, they sat in a government building with a little food to eat after a terrifying ordeal at the hands of kidnappers. 279 were captured at their school in a town called Jigebe, then forced to march into the forest.
Most of us got injured on our feet and we could not continue with the trekking. They said they will shoot anybody who did not continue to walk. While we were walking, they were hitting us with guns and beating us with a cane and telling us to move on.
Mass abductions have become increasingly common in northern Nigeria as criminal gangs and bandits seek payment for the children's return. For the pupils and the parents, it can be traumatic. Security analysts warn this criminal activity won't go away.
For us to hear that all of them have been released, we were happy about that, but then you now say to yourself, where next? Because you're wondering, where is it going to happen again? Is it still going to be in Zamfara? Is it going to Niger? Is it moving to Katsina? That's a big issue.
The girls were taken by a gang of men, 100 strong, in military-style uniforms. Local officials said they negotiated the girls' release. It's a common practice, and it may be necessary, but it fuels these terrifying crimes. John Sparks, Sky News.
They arrived at dawn, limped their way into the office of the governor, exhausted, and some too sick to work. They served meals in an office where normally cabinet meetings are held. With their first decent meals in days, they gathered the strength to tell us what happened.
They drove us like animals. Some of us were falling and getting injured. They made us trek for 2 to 3 hours and spent the first 2 days in the camp. They pushed us forward, threatening to kill anyone who refused to move. Despite the blisters on our feet, they forced us to walk further until we reached the second and then the third camp.
The 279 students were kidnapped while they were sleeping in their boarding school dormitories in the town of Jangebe, in circumstances similar to the Boko Haram kidnapping of more than 270 girls in 2014. It's not these girls will have the courage to return to school or them to return. The governor of Zamfara State is with the bandits continue despite pitfalls.
It's a very dicey situation. A lot of people are questioning the rationale behind negotiating with criminals like this, which will embolden them in terms of getting money from the government, or also rearming themselves and conducting more daring attacks.
This is Al Jazeera.
Well, we begin this bulletin with breaking news out of Nigeria. There are reports that gunmen have kidnapped students from a college there. That abduction happened in Kaduna State in the northwest.
This is CNN Breaking News.
Right, I want to get you back to Nigeria now, where more parents will be in torment and the country's kidnapping crisis deepening. As we have been reporting, a forestry college in northwestern Kaduna State is the very latest target of gunmen. Right now, it's not known how many students were grabbed at gunpoint after an assault overnight. What we do know is that this is the fourth time students have been abducted since December, and Nigeria is reeling. Well, civil rights activist Shehu Sani is a former senator of Mando, the town in Kaduna State where this latest mass kidnapping happened. He's critical of the Nigerian government's handling of the crisis, writing on Twitter, quote, "When they said that Jangebe kidnappings would be the last, it's clear that they really underestimated the enormity and gravity of the problem. Kidnapping is now a thriving, lucrative business, and students are now their stocks and gold mine." Well, it couldn't be clearer than that.
Outside Mando's Federal College of Forestry Mechanization, a hole blasted through a wall into the ground. Gunmen had stormed the school in northwest Nigeria, abducting at least 30 students. It's just the latest in a string of such abductions in Nigeria over the last 4 months, and comes just 2 weeks after nearly 300 schoolgirls were kidnapped in Zamfara state. It sparked criticism of authorities for negotiating with so-called bandits, providing incentives for the practice to continue.
This is the fourth such mass kidnapping in 3 months. It seems to be a sort of a vicious cycle where embarrassment is caused to Muhammadu Buhari by the ongoing phenomenon. Ransoms are sought, perhaps paid, and the kidnapping industry is actually fueled by the shocking nature of what's going on and by the media attention.
Now to West Africa, the Nigerian security forces have stepped up efforts to rescue dozens of abducted college students who were earlier kidnapped in Kaduna, northwestern Nigeria.
The Nigerian security forces have stepped up efforts to rescue dozens of abducted college students who were earlier kidnapped in Kaduna, northwestern Nigeria. The students were kidnapped by unknown gunmen in a raid on the Federal Government College of Forestry Mechanization, which is located near a military training academy. Earlier, media in Nigeria ran videos where hostages were shown pleading for help.
We are pleading on government to come now at this early, because these people, they have bad mind towards us. We are pleading on government to come and help us, because without the government coming to our rescue this early and having any settled issue with them, there will be a serious problem with us. We are pleading on government to come and help us.
I, as the CNC, am making you 100% to effectively deploy your officers and men to secure the country.
Turning to Nigeria, I can tell you the Secretary General strongly condemns the reported abduction of another group of students in that country, this time from the Federal College of Forestry Mechanization in Kaduna. The Secretary General calls for the immediate and unconditional release of those students that remain in captivity.
I turned and looked at the door to the church. It was open, and this is what I saw. I saw many, many blackbirds. Many, many blackbirds. And then the Lord presented one facing me. So I saw that here they have a patch of white. Patch at the chest here is white. But the whole bird is black. And there were so many birds. And they were jumping all over in the church. As I looked at the church from outside now through the window. And then, so the blackbirds had a patch of white, and then the voice spoke. He said, "These are the false ones I talked to you about. These are the false ones I talked to you about." So when I saw them, I knew that they are ones. So these are also they are the ones. You see that the Lord talked about. Then all of a sudden, a strong wind blew inside the church and blew all of them out. The blackbirds with a white patch. Again, all of a sudden, a strong wind realized inside and blew all of them out towards me, towards where I was standing. And they came. They were blown around next to me. When they all died. I was very shocked. When the strong wind blew them, they came around me and they all died at my feet. Okay. And then, after they died, the wind started blowing them a little bit away now from my feet, and their corpses were somewhere there. And I saw other birds, wild birds coming and eating the corpses. Like that. Eating the corpses. Right? Everything. And then there were many corpses being fed on. The blackbirds, they have a white patch here. And there were many, I write many. There were so many blackbirds. And the Lord brought even one of them in front of me, trying to, And then after that, the wind blew, a strong wind blew from there and blew them out. And I looked, I realized they died at my feet. They said, "These are the false ones." You see that? And then their bodies were being eaten by other birds. And we all know that the Lord is talking about the defilement, the impostors in the church, sin in the church, and the cleaning up of the church. It is going to take place. I have seen it. Now, who are these blackbirds that die when the wind storms the church? So listen to this. These birds, these are the false spirits operating in the church. The false apostles in the church. The false prophets. The false evangelists. The false pastors. The false teachers. Teachers who are teaching the false message. And this is even the dispensation that the Bible talked about. When people would feel comfortable to gather around teachers of falsehood, because they will preach a gospel that's appealing to the flesh. The Bible says that is tingling the ear, which means the gospel of the flesh. The horizontal gospel that is focusing the church on the earthly, the perishable. It is the perishable gospel that has no deliverance. This is the time when the nation of Nigeria needed the church. but the church is largely absent. She has absconded. Why? Because of the false apostles you see in the church in Nigeria, people that were not called by Jehovah. The false prophets causing Nigeria, the church, to listen to the voice of men, not of God. The voice of men, human beings speaking, and you think it's God. Nigeria has listened to the voice of men for a very long time. The Lord is saying it is time over. It is time out. I knew that the way you are operating as a church, the cleanup would have to be very massive and very grave. The squelch of his feet must be felt in the center because of the level of deception in the church.
The Lord is saying that the power unto man is in the highway. He says, even no ferocious beast shall come to devour you on the way. That is the true power of the Lord, right? Right? But I see in Nigeria, the ferocious beast and so I have come to ask you, on which way are you walking? Which highway is Nigeria following right now? In other words, is she really on the highway of the Lord? Because the other highway, the devourer is there. That is the way that Nigeria follows. And in that dream, they stormed Nigeria. They invaded them, humiliated them, held them captive. There were so many people, and the line was so long, huge line. The beast is devouring Nigeria. Everybody is watching. All over the world. That's what the Lord is saying here.